Hi everyone, welcome to Mumsu Code video guide session. In the previous video, this was our focus, and in this video, we're going to focus on our exposure layer for the delete operation. And after we write our code, we'll still come back to the diagram as we're going to wrap up this learning path. So for now, let's get to the coding. Starting with our user branch here, users, Shri, and then this is going to be our exposure and this is delete, right? Okay, so where do we write our exposures? At the program.cs where we have the public static void main, right? So far what we have done is, we have tried to add a sample, retrieve all, retrieve by ID and modify. So at last we're going to delete it. So let's say sample deleted sample equal sample service dot the terminology in the services layer is in, and then yeah, after completing, let us make the AI happy to use the code that it's giving us. So we're going to call modified sample, right? So far we're good. Let's run and see what's going to happen. Okay, so the deleted sample is 24 previous sample that's modified. But what does the store hold? It just has one. Why? We actually had three, right? So what we did was we tried to add 24 an example here, and then we tried to add this record with this. So we added that. And then when we tried to modify, we modified 24 with the same text. So the modify functionality was basically removing everything and then adding back. That ended up with two set of records. Then finally, when we said remove, out of two, it removed one. So this is how the remove functionality is working. Now let's try something different. Instead of me calling the, modify, what I want is, let me create another record for to delete. So input sample equal new sample. Let me call something that is not even existing, right? So 1, 2, 3, text record to be deleted. If this works, so let's run this. If you think about it, 1, 2, 3 doesn't even exist, exist in the stored samples, right? Still the count is 2 and the deleted sample is this. So basically you tried to perform the delete, but there was no record delete and it came back. And if you take a look, we still have 2, 4, 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 24. But what did actually happen? Let's actually, get to the storage broker and look at the method of what's happening there. So this was removed. If I have to over, okay, I'm not getting the IntelliSense. Let me over it now. So what it says is, hey, true if item is successfully removed. Otherwise, it's going to be false. So if there's the item that you're passing in is not found in the collection, it's going to give back false. So currently in our code base, we are not, validating for true or false. So we are just saying, this is my item, they delete it and give me back the deleted item. That's all. So that's why we are not able to actually have a meaningful message saying, hey, the item that you have entered is not present in the system, but this is what is being returned or something of that sort, right? For that, you may have to again start modifying your code in order to have your right messaging being captured on the return type. And if you want to throw an exception, or do you want to just make the wording on the return message, whatnot, right? So that is something that you want to handle if you want the software to do it in a specific way. So otherwise, what are the things that we can check as usual? Let's go for a null check. Oh, yeah. So null sample exception error has been thrown. Some other interesting piece is, let's say, input sample, and this time let's give 0. Do you think we'll have an invalid exception or not? we didn't have an error. Why? Because we actually didn't validate for the data inside the sample. We went ahead just for the null validation, right? That's why it did not have this error. For a record to be deleted, I really don't have to be bothered about if the record value that's containing inside is good or not. So that's why we did not have anything of that sort. So I think you have taken a look at all possible combinations that we wanted to test for remove. Otherwise, this was a great journey. We are wrapping up our C# learning path. So now let's get to the diagram and see what we have achieved. Okay, so this one is turning green. Awesome. So what have we done? We did start our learning path with the CRUD operation. We were working on our chosen entity. We started with our console application. We set up our build, and then we set up our unit test project. Then we went with a create workflow. We learned something about brokers, entity brokers, utility brokers. Then we had our business logic in the foundation layer, an exposure layer where the external entity or service or a user interacts with the system. Then we started with read all, read by ID, because we wanted the operation on the unique key to be standing out. If we want to select one of the book and get all the details, then read by ID is the most efficient one. After that, we worked on update, where we saw how modify works. So we were basically trying to remove everything, and then we were trying to add the record. So that is another interesting piece there. In terms of delete, we also saw there, if the record is found, it's going to return true, and otherwise it's going to return false. So based on the output, we can have the customized message coming back. So with this, we are wrapping up our C# learning path, where we focused on some basic concepts of C# and we learned about the standard, how we can write clean code in terms of single responsibility principle, in terms of code cleanliness, the readable code, and all that of that. So where are we? Yeah, delete. So the next other activity that I could think of, if you want to explore, is something that you can try and see for the sort of update. If you want to introduce orchestrator, then you can also try to explore, and you can think about delete to give a meaningful message, right? Because it was just deleting even if the record was not there. So that is something you can try. And the other thing that you can try is delete the ID. I wanted to, delete only one thing that's by ID. There's so many things you can try. Update by ID. Even that is something, an interesting way of doing the code that you want to learn, or practice some of the combinations of broker, foundations, and exposure, and testing your whole code, right? So happy learning. Continue your interest in C#. We will be coming back with more videos as our team is progressing on their learning. See you all in the next video guide session or any other new track that we are starting.